Alright, here we are again in EA's WRC 23 doing some fault finding with a really weird hardware issue. I won't call it a hardware issue, I think it's a game issue. And what I want to demonstrate here is the really odd behaviour at the end of the stage that tanks GPU performance. So you can see the GPU usage, which I've made large on the screen, is up around 98%, and I'm getting the full almost 550 watts of power out of the GPU, 140-ish frames per second. The GPU busy deviation is 1%, that 0%. That indicates a pretty well balanced system, not getting any CPU or GPU bottleneck. And you can see the CPU threads aren't particularly overloaded. So this is true of the entire stage. I've just started recording at the end of the stage here. And what I want to do is demonstrate some really odd behaviour when we get to a certain point towards the end of the stage. Now there's speculation that it's a CPU bottleneck, or potentially it's loading extra assets for the next stage, but I'm not convinced that's the problem, because firstly I've created a custom championship with only one stage, so there's really nothing to load other than the replay, and it doesn't seem to have a problem with the replay. You can, in fact you can repeat this problem later on, so it's about to occur, and it occurs on a specific spot on this stage. It happens on other stages as well. So watch carefully the power, the clock speed of the GPU, and therefore the frame rate all drop. Do you see right there? Just dropped to 270 odd watts. Now if I reverse, magically it comes back. I get my full, try not to get disqualified, I get my full 550 watts. I'm back to 136 frames a second. Clock speed is up around 3000 megahertz. And if I go forward just to here, there it is, just drops. Clock speed drops, frame rate tanks to 90, power down around 300. If I reverse past that exact spot on the map, back to 550 watts, back to full GPU usage, just makes no sense. So here we go forward, there's nothing particularly odd about this part of the track. Drops to 300, you can see the GPU busy deviation is now going up, 7%, 8%, it'll keep climbing. But none of the CPU cores are overloaded. If you look at them, nothing is happening unusually there. None of the threads are anywhere close to maxed out. But you can see the GPU busy deviation has gone up to 23%. Power's down around 300 watts. The core has dropped from 3000 to 2200 megahertz, and my frame rate has tanked from 140 to 90. And it makes no sense. If you pause the game, you can see everything returns to normal. The GPU busy deviation starts reducing again because the system is back in balance, and there's really no explanation. Now in terms of settings, just to go over those again, alright, I'm using 4K with no upscaling, anti-aliasing on Epic, which is 1 below the max, and anisotropic on 16, which is basically free. In terms of the advanced graphics, it's on Ultra. The 3 or the 4 settings that I've found through the community reduce CPU overhead and therefore allow you to get 100% GPU utilization. Turning the crowd down, it's a shame. The crowd really add a lot of atmosphere, but it also tanks performance. Car reflections on ultra low, this is the big one. Basically putting it on ultra low turns it off. Whatever Codemasters have done with their system, when you've got it in ultra, It's not going to show here because we're in a menu, but you can see it'll probably tank even more. There you go, 70 frames a second. So the big one there is car reflections in ultra low. Mirrors I've got in ultra low because frankly I don't use them, and motion blur off because I don't like motion blur. So that's that. I don't have HDR on at the moment, but it makes no difference to this. So let's just fix that up. So here we go. If we reverse now, again. So now that's very odd. Now it's 60 frames a second. What's happened here? Alright, let's experiment and find out what the heck has happened here. See if I've changed something unusual. Low, ultra low. Yeah. Oh, there we go. I don't know what happened there. Got stuck in 60 frames a second. So you can see we've still got... it's really interesting. The frame rate's tanked even more than usual. GPU usage is 99% now, but the frame rate, oh no, it's 99 because we've gone back over here. Okay, so we're past that kind of magical trigger point on the track where my clock speed has gone back up to 3000, and if we move over here, just over this ridge or before the ridge, there we go, and it's tanked back down to 2200. So it's completely repeatable. It doesn't matter what settings you have. It doesn't matter if you reboot the computer. You know, it's just a point on the track, and it's not just this stage. It happens on multiple stages. Towards the end, as you get right towards the finish of a stage, performance tanks like that. So I'll record. In fact, why don't I try and do that now? Here we go. We'll see if we can demonstrate that this isn't an issue caused by the CPU being loaded. I don't believe it is. So let's just reverse it up a little bit. Oh, I'm going to get disqualified. Here we go. Alright, GPU usage 95%. And we're getting 140 frames a second. So, what I'm going to do, you won't be able to see this, but I'm going to open up, let's see. Alright, we're going to open up Cinebench 24, and I'm just going to start it multi-threaded, and that's going to tax every thread to 100%, and then we'll see how that actually affects performance, and if it's the same kind of performance drop that we would get, that we're seeing when we cross that magical spot on the track. I don't believe it's going to be the same, because I did try this before. And now we're doing it live, so it's about to start. Right, so now it's multi-threaded. You can see we're still in the menu, obviously, and 140 FPS there. That's fine. We're in the menu. We're going to back out of the menu. All right, so here we are, multi-threaded at 100%. I'm still getting 110 frames per second. The GPU usage has dropped, but the GPU core frequency has not dropped. It's still at 3000 megahertz, thereabouts, and I'm still getting, you know, over 500 watts of power, right? So this is with the CPU completely loaded, which is why I don't believe this issue is a CPU bottleneck issue, because the performance you get is actually worse than a CPU bottleneck. So if I cross this magical spot, there it is, my clock speed has dropped into this, 1700, and I'm down to 72 frames a second. So whatever it's doing, it is worse than having 100% thread loads on your CPUs. It makes no sense. So if I stop Cinebench, stop, see if it will actually stop. Alright, so I've stopped Cinebench, and you can see we're back to our 90 5% GPU utilization, clock speed is good, frame rate is good, and then we cross this magical spot on the track, and it tanks to 2000 to 2200 megahertz clock speed. Frame rate is 90. Remember, it was still 110 with the CPU completely loaded. You know, so I don't know. I hope that's useful in demonstrating that whatever we're seeing here, I think is a pure game bug. It's something to do with the game engine, whether there's something being loaded at the end of the stage, or it's. I just don't understand. I don't understand, firstly, why it's dropping the GPU power and clock speed so dramatically at an arbitrary spot on the track. I think it's a game engine bug. We'll leave it at that. I'll hand over to EA and Codemasters to figure out. Alright, see you later guys.